Oh well, oh well, oh well, oh well, oh well. I didn't think much of Peter and Derek. First time I laid eyes on them. Looked like a stiff breeze would have blown them over. And a walk and a talk that just wasn't normal around here. They were in for gross misappropriation of movie facts and blatant and repeated copyright infringement. Oh, how they put their damn faces all over movie posters, like it was nobody's business. Had a cockiness to them. We disliked them immediately.
I was surprised by this movie in many ways.
I gotta say, I was regretting my decision.
I think this would be something I'd show to my kids.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I think it's about a father's love for his child.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And a complete stranger's love for that man's
They
child.
wore really ugly outfits. Puke yellow, prom night, pale blue, you know.
I don't even know where to start with this
Definitely
film.
not a movie I would consider watching unless you tell me to. Hello, I'm Derek,
And I'm Peter.
and this is The Mog.
In this podcast, one of us suggests a beloved movie for the other to watch, and then we talk about it. What made us laugh? What made us cry?
And whether or not it explains our fear of laundry duty. Don't make me do laundry. The sisters will get me.
I actually just avoid it altogether. You know, that's why right now there are piles of laundry outside the door.
It's because of the sisters, man. You know it.
So, what movie are we actually talking about today?
It's one of mine. It's The Shawshank Redemption from 1994.
And do you have an alternative title?
I do. The Shawshank Redemption, a biracial, non-sexual love story between two men.
Well, mine was any title has to be better than The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, man. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
Apparently, Morgan Freeman said that that one of the reasons that The Shawshank Redemption tanked was because people would say, "Oh, I saw this great movie the other day."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what was it called? It was the redemptive
Shimshaw?
the Shimshaw the Shuriken. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, poor guy. And it did tank. Hey, it didn't really make much money.
Apparently so.
But like it made it up in the next year in rentals apparently.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't pick that up. But like I know that it's constantly rated as like one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's always amazing how these ones that don't go well at the box office are then rated really well. But I'll give you a quick synopsis of the film. Two imprisoned men, Andy Dufresne, Tim Robbins, and Red, Morgan Freeman, bond over a number of years, finding solace and even eventual redemption through acts of common decency.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah,
my
it's
alternate
yours.
title, my alternate title actually was a quote from Tim Robbins. He said it's a love story between two men, and it really is. I think that's why I like this.
Yeah.
It's all about the love,
Is it platonic? Would it be platonic?
non-sexual.
Is that what platonic means?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But a bit of background. This was actually a Stephen King novella.
I know. I can't believe it.
I can't believe it
Like
either.
I didn't know for the longest time either because it was like when I did see it, it was very moving, and then someone said it was a Stephen King, and I was like, no, it wasn't.
There's no way.
No,
Hey,
it's not
there's
Stephen.
no way.
Stephen King didn't write it, and he did.
But it was called, what was it called? Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. So they had to change it because apparently by having Rita Hayworth in the title, they were getting all these like solicitations from actresses. Oh, I want to be in this movie. I want to be in the role.
Oh, right.
There's no women.
Do you want to be a poster?
But it was directed by Frank Darabont, and he went on to do The Green Mile, and he's got a
Oh, right.
he's got a really interesting story because it's a bit of rags to riches. He was just a set designer, and he was just sort of working on all these horror films like Nightmare on Elm Street, number 3 or whatever. And he always wanted to be a writer, and so he had a go at. Stephen King has these things called dollar babies, which are not-for-profit stories which you buy for $1 and you have the rights to make it for just $1. and he went on to make This Woman in the Room short, and Stephen King loved it, and he said, okay. When he later on approached him for Shawshank, he gave it to him for $1,000, which is like unheard of. It's like a novella of Stephen King, and so he was really impressed.
Crazy.
And later on, he never cashed the check, and he actually gave it back to him framed and says, "In case you ever need bail money, love, Steve."
What did Stephen King think about this?
He loved it. So this is one of his favorite.
Because he historically has hated a lot of his adaptations, the irony is that the ones that he hates are the ones that do really well, like The Shining.
Yeah,
and he like had his own go at The Shining, and it wasn't very good.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. It was terrible.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But so there's I didn't know that. That's really fascinating.
And I read the book a little, like the novella. It's so well written. Stephen King, he's got such clarity of language. Like he in some of the words he says, I admired that. And I admired him in spite of problems he was having. He was going on with his life. There are thousands who don't, won't, or can't. And plenty of them aren't in prison either. There's just like real clarity and like conciseness to the language in there. And the story itself, Darabont goes on to say it's about a mythic hero. And he talks a bit about Joseph Campbell, like the mythic hero rides into town, cleans up and rides away. He sets things right. And not just changing the environment, but fundamentally changes his friend Red by that friendship. And that's pretty powerful stuff. When the director knows all this stuff, and he's the writer as well, like the script writer, it makes like
that's really
it's a good combo.
It's astonishing because it's such a great film too. Yeah. Like, So did he go? Like, he went on to do The Green Mile. Did he do anything else?
There were some. The Mist.
Seriously, he did The Mist, the movie The Mist. So all of these are Stephen King things.
Yeah, like I think they formed the Majestic.
Oh right. The twist was that. Sorry, The Mist had a twist at the end that wasn't in the book.
Oh yeah.
As Stephen King thought should have been. It has like one of the like worst amazing endings of any horror film. Do you like?
I don't remember it. I don't. I've seen it.
I haven't. Well, I haven't watched it all the way through. I've seen bits of it, and I have seen the end. And basically, they escape, but they realize they're not going to get away, and they're in the middle of, in a car, and the husband, in order to save them from a fate worse than death, gets his gun and shoots everyone in the car, and there are no more bullets for himself. And the sound that was coming towards them was actually tanks coming to rescue them.
Oh wow!
So he's just killed his entire family, and
that's a Stephen King story.
That's a Stephen King story. But the thing is, it didn't end like that apparently.
Yeah?
So the actual maybe it was the writer or the director of the film added that.
Yeah, Darabont, because he condensed a lot of the stuff out of the stories and changed. Yeah.
Wow.
But this film won it was awarded 7 Oscar nominations.
Right.
Like Best Picture, Best Actor and Leading Role, Writing, Cinematography, Sound, Film Editing, Music, and it didn't win any of them. But,
probably because they said, oh, it was really good. Oh, but did you see the numbers? Yeah, the numbers weren't great. It probably wasn't that good then.
But it was competing this year with Forrest Gump, 1994, Lion King, Pulp Fiction, The Crow, Speed, Stargate, True Lies, and Leon, the Professional.
Well, I don't know if Stargate would have won any.
Stargate, man. I had to put that in there because it's our thing. Sci-fi. But 2 things I wanted to speak about. The cinematography. Roger Deakins, he did this, and he's most known for actually recently Blade Runner, the new film. He got an Oscar for that.
I haven't seen that. I really want to.
Oh, it's beautiful. And Skyfall, Bond.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful Mind, Fargo, Revolutionary Road, The Big Lebowski. He's just epic, man. That's why it looks so nice and just like he's got these sweeping helicopter shots.
Yeah, I know. I made a note about that. That's a great lead in. That was excellent.
But also that's due to the set design by Terrence Marsh. He did Hunt for Red October, and he had looked at the architecture of this prison, and he said it's got a gothic quality, so there's religious overtones, and it's a reformatory, and that's why they chose the prison. So
Right.
it's designed to draw your eyes skyward, and there's even a shot in there where it sort of looks up and
Right.
at the skies, and so it's all very
Like everything about it is set in a way for success, because you're getting a feel for the film without even any dialogue existing.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, in that note, the music, Thomas Newman, he's American Beauty.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
explains.
Yeah.
That explains
And
my
then
notes.
it's got his piano.
Piano.
Yeah, the piano with the strings, but also these very discordant things
Yeah.
going on. It's
Yeah.
quite complex.
I was
score.
actually going. Yeah. No, I was going to say. I think this influenced a lot of music that came later, and now
It's actually him.
it was just him.
Him growing. Yeah, I don't know. I had a little bit of stuff. Tim Robbins, he locked himself in the solitary to prepare.
For how long?
Not very long, I think. But there was an interesting quote. He says, "I always thought Andy should look as if he had a secret." And that pretty much nails his performance.
That's true.
Because there's so much power in just his stare.
Yeah.
And the narration was recorded beforehand and played on set. That's really interesting to me because they had Morgan Freeman's voice giving the rhythm of the film while they were playing it out. And that's pretty profound. I hadn't really heard of that before.
Wow. Well, I mean, this was the thing that also skyrocketed his thing as a narrator.
Yeah, that was his first one.
So I guess...
Because we had Prince of Thieves, that was 91. But he didn't narrate it,
He
really.
didn't narrate it.
Yeah.
No. But this was the narrated film, and then he got into everything. And you just look up Morgan Freeman on YouTube, and it's like one of the first things is all about his voice.
Yeah.
It's just constantly about his voice.
Not that we tried to do anything.
No. I wouldn't even begin to try. No, I think anyone. Oh wow! Start turning into a Sean Connery impression. Oh wow! It seemed to me that Andy Dufresne.
1 hour later.
1 hour later, Jesus. Yeah, we really tried hard and wasted a lot of time on it. So, but what did so is there anything more to the background? I mean, it seems like there's it's just I didn't realize all the elements that went into it, but that's pretty amazing. And
the editor, he was Richard Francis Bruce. He did Seven and Frantic and Dead Calm.
God.
So there's that real
there's
thriller.
There's people who've been involved in some really awesome films in there.
Absolutely.
So
really good people involved.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I think they knew when they read the script that this was a winner because there's some stories going around like Charlie Sheen said he wanted to be, Tim Robbins, and he would do it for no money. And yeah, there was people bidding like 30 million. They wanted to buy the script from him, but he wouldn't let it go because this was his first film.
Yeah.
And they knew that this was a sort of winner.
Wow. No, well, that makes sense. I'm just surprised Tim Robbins was the one that got into the role. Yeah. He does an amazing job. I just, you don't imagine him as the person who's going to be the lead role.
Yeah. It's real good work
He's
by casting.
tall. He's so tall.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how tall he was. You see him walking amongst all the people.
No.
He's just so much taller than everyone else.
Yeah, he does stand out. He's got a real character.
You wouldn't want him up against Tom Cruise. There's only so many boxes that he can stand on.
He was originally cast as well, but he was working on something else. Thank God.
I can't imagine Tom Cruise playing that character. He certainly wouldn't play him like he had a secret.
No.
Though Tom Cruise is pretty good at keeping secrets.
Yeah, I like
all the murders he commits.
Yeah.
So,
I like Tom though.
But yeah, but why did you pick this film anyway?
So this was Mum's favourite movie, really. She loved thrillers and she loved movies as well. So she lived for movies. She got really excited when we would watch movies together. It was like a process. She would get food ready and loved to have food while watching, and she'd also do ironing and stuff in the background sometimes, housework. And she would say "Oh, I'm watching, darling, don't pause it." And she would say that I always picked good movies, but the reality is that I went to a lot of trouble to pick movies that she would like. And she has very specific tastes and preferences, like the genre, the story, the drama, the actors. And she's really opinionated, so if she didn't like it, she was very vocal about it.
Oh, right.
She would just go at the end, stupid movie. Such disgust. And so here I would go through and keep an eye out for mum movies, like thrillers, and check the reviews and ratings and see if there are any good thrillers out, and have a collection to run by her. And basically I would curate these
Wow.
films. And not all of them would pass, but when they did, she would look at me, say to me at the end, good movie, at the end credits. And so that was like worth
Did she know how much work you went into?
No, I don't think really. So like
Oh, wow.
the real highlight for me occurred when I would make these curated selections and we'd watch them together. So I got a cheapest deal on a BenQ projector, and there was a period where we'd set up mini home cinema. And so we'd watch The French Connection, The Lives of Others, Prisoners, The Departed. And, my mum would say to me, have you been there? she always thought I'd done extensive travel around the world, which I haven't really. And this was the days before Netflix. So I think Netflix is sort of automated curation to a degree.
It never gets it right for me.
What's that? Yeah, it never gets it right. Yeah, I don't know. And it's like later on she found her own stuff. And I watched this for the first time in 95, 96. But this was like one of the first films that... not the first films, but in those early days, she would tape the daytime movies and we'd watch them together.
Oh, right.
And so, like, Channel 7 daytime movies, dramas mostly. And she'd ask me how to program the VHS recorder. But once she'd figured it out, she'd mark all these movies from the daily TV guide, from the descriptions. She would go through and highlight all these things and program it. And so it was sort of a reversal. She had come full circle and she was curating for me, and like,
oh wow,
there was some I was exposed to some pretty freak horror films during that time.
I like, how old were you during that time?
Yeah, like really young. So like, yeah, and like Dark Knight of the Scarecrow from 1981. I have such vivid memories of that one. But that was a curation from her.
Was it one as well?
It was one, yes, and yeah.
But was Deliverance?
I think Deliverance definitely was. Right. Yeah.
So she curated Deliverance for you.
It's not for me. It was more for her. But I was just there.
You were there soaking it all in.
Soaking it all in. But I wanted to ask you, what did you think about this notion of curation and movie selection, and particularly in the family setting?
Well, I actually do it a lot. Myself. I do it with Alicia. One of the things that I really wanted to do for Alicia was to get her into horror movies, because I started to generate a real interest in it with all the supernatural ghost movies, all that type of stuff, and I wanted to get Alicia into it too. But I didn't, I know that there's some pretty gory horror films out there, and I didn't think that she would like any of that, so I did a lot of curating of what would she like, and that's actually where I introduced her to Alien. Yeah, because that was that on the cusp with science fiction, and there's mystery in there, and and from there, like, I still kind of do that when I'm looking for a horror movie that I think both of us would enjoy sitting down and watching. Yeah, and other movies too. But I think we've kind of got a bit of a thing going with the horror films. Yeah. But the thing is that I do that a lot with Alicia, but I never really did it much with my parents, because my parents, we didn't really have that connection with movies so much. There was TV shows, there was things that they had on that we sort of enjoyed doing. Like my mum used to watch Ancient Lives, which is a documentary, and I listened to that in the background. But I just can't really think of things that we all sat down as a family to watch. And I don't know how much curation they would have done of us. I think they just found Star Wars, and that was enough to keep us going and stuff. So yeah, but that real thing of finding something for my wife to watch was something that was big. And it makes a real connection, I find. Yeah, it does. Especially if you have them in mind. Like, you're not dumping them into
It.
Yeah.
It was Alien. There's stuff going on, you know. There's ways in. Sigourney's incredible actress. in
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
And just like so powerful as a woman.
And it doesn't really, you know, the lead up to it is so interesting that by the time you get the chest burster scene and all of that you're already in the movie, you're already involved in it. So like I think that's where it's cool.
Yeah.
So well, like Shawshank Redemption, then this particular one, was that something that like you have a key memory with? Like, what is it about Shawshank that's
Well, this film, it's just an incredible story. It really is. It's the characters, and I wrote some before notes. What I loved about it was that how he builds up from nothing. He's this sort of unlikely hero. He's refined, but he's playing music in the prison yard. You know, there's like these really powerful things. And it's sort of the basis of the Prison Break thing, because I used to get into that. And yeah, I don't know. I was really moved by this.
Yeah, it is a very moving film, and it's I don't know if it is or not, but it certainly feels complex because there's weaving in and out of people's stories along the way as well. Like these people who come into the prison come in with their own stories.
Yeah.
And when you go in, there are people who are already there who have their own stories.
Yeah.
And their stories are about going out of prison. And
so much character development.
there is.
It's really deep.
Like even for side characters, like the introduction of Tommy, he's only there for a brief period of time, but he's a pivotal character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he doesn't just come in and say something that changes the plot. He comes in and develops a relationship, and through that something is revealed.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how they managed to weave in these characters and actually develop each of them in some way. Even that character like learned how to read and write and took tests, and you know, it managed to form a connection with each of them in a unique way, like Brooks as an example. And the thing is that not only are they introduced as characters, but they're also introduced in such a way that you feel for them, you feel for their story. But even though there's that individual story, part of that forms the greater narrative. So the idea of Brooks, who has the crow, and he has a relationship with his crow, like even like little things that he says, you know, it really touches you.
Yeah.
And but his arc of a person who commits suicide after he leaves the prison because he can't take it adds a layer of I guess you could say fear or trepidation later on in the movie when Red gets out, and when you know, and when when Andy loses hope, that you know, you really fear that there are things that people will do that they just can't take anymore.
Yeah, it really sets it up well. Did you have memories of this film when growing up?
I wouldn't say that I have specific memories. I do know when I saw it, it was very powerful. I know that it was very moving. It was one of those movies where you're at a certain age and you don't want to come across as someone who actually gets moved by movies. So it's just like, I don't want to say I'm crying, but I've got a huge lump in my throat.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not crying. The tears in my eyes, and I'm real tears, and I'm real tears. I think that was literally like I think I was watching it with my family actually. And yeah, I was like, there was a lump in my throat, and I didn't want to tell them. I was just like, yeah, I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy. But yeah, but it is a really awesome film. But it's one of those films where you can say it's really awesome. I love this film, but I'm not going to watch it much. Do you know what I mean? Like it really is it's not an everyday movie.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Well, I haven't watched it, in years and years. But in preparing for this, it was one of the films. It's actually pretty rare that I get drawn into it. Like I was just looking up something again and watching just little bits, but then I was drawn right back in, and I just wanted to keep watching.
Yeah.
Wanted to just like.
Yeah, it's true.
It's very easy to just sink into it. It's nice.
I think it's
so uplifting.
Yeah. You know what? I think also I was at an age where, you know, the scene where he gets abused by that prisoner, I think that was one of the things that also I just found a bit too much for me at the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you
It
know,
was
but then
brutal,
again,
yeah.
you were fine because you had Deliverance to fall back on.
That set me up for it. I was very used to acts like that.
Never gonna let you live that down.
But speaking of acts, we should get on to Act 1.
Yeah.
So I had Act 1, prison walls are never built to scale. Because you're scaling it.
I got it. I did get it.
I'm going to penitentiary for that one.
Yeah. Oh man, if only I could pun. But it's just no pun for me.
And it starts off with this 50s song and
it does, yeah.
Tim Robbins sitting in the car with his crazy eyes and he pulls out a gun.
Yeah, that's right.
And the whiskey.
Sets up the did he or didn't he
Yeah.
right from the start.
And the song playing as if I didn't care. And it flashes forward to court and man, Tim Robbins, he really embodies it. He's got this face and there's this sort of fear in his eyes when he's asked these questions. Like, it's very interesting to read his face.
Yeah, well, you're wondering what's the expression about? Is it actually is he guilty? Is it like his responses, are they based on a person who's guilty and trying to hide something, or what's it about?
And he does look like a killer, like a straight-faced killer.
Yeah. And that's what the judge says as well, isn't he?
And it's his language too. I find it decidedly inconvenient that the gun was never found.
Yeah.
It's such like a flat...
That's very true. You know, people want someone to be expressing emotion and stuff during these times, and he's not that type of person. He's innocent, but he's not... but you never know that, and you could look at what he says and think, oh, he's obviously guilty.
And I was thinking, a modern film, it might even have him as an actual killer. Like, it'll do a double twist. Like, he gets out and then, he did kill them.
He gets out and says, now, Red, let's go kill some... And then it turns into Shawshank Redemption 2.
His project is actually, like, mass grave.
Yeah, when he opens up the
boat.
When Red goes and pulls a rock out and pulls the thing out, it's just like pictures of all the people he's killed.
Man. But it mounts it really well from the beginning. Like this mounting music, 8 bullets, you know, like he had to reload a bullet for each of them, and the hammer strikes, you know, cuts to black. It's really impactful.
Yeah.
The sound design is crazy.
Yeah.
And then Morgan Not Freeman. That's my other pun.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Penitentiary, man.
Man, you're turning red.
But they have this POV from darkness, like it's following you into the parole board meeting. Yeah. And it gets you on board with the character, I thought.
That's true, yeah, it does. And I love that. Like and that's a great way to introduce his character, because the way that he acts in that parole thing changes throughout the film. So he's a bit twitchy at the start, you know, anxious to be there, is trying to say the right thing, so that he might be able to get paroled, and that changes throughout the film.
Absolutely.
When he sort of loses that hope. Yeah, because this is also a lot about hope as well, and what it means when you hold on to hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And it's like, it shows the close-up of his file and his younger self, 20 years, you know, he's been there. That was actually Morgan's son, Alphonse.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then it's stamps rejected with this massive thing. And then the prison helicopter shot where it's
that.
Oh my God, it's so great.
So good. It's a long shot too. Sweeps over the whole prison.
I was thinking it must have been expensive. Today they would do it with a drone. And it'd be cheap.
Well, they wouldn't do it with the drone. They do digital effects. It'd be a fake prison, and every single individual would have gone through motion capture to make sure that they're in the prison.
But it sets the scene and the scale of it so well, I thought. And it's 1947, and we meet Andy. He was vice president of Portland Bank. He was young, and yeah, man, some of those inmates, they look so rough coming out of that bus. You speak English, butt steak? So tough looking. He's just like his mug, man.
Yeah, he did. He looked like he was yeah, it was
He'd
good.
done
'cause
time,
He'd
probably.
done it before. He was like there again.
Really good casting. But then I like the language, man, in this because they're taking bets and it's a game and like there's
Yeah.
new inmates, it's their entertainment. You know, smokes a coin. Better's choice. It really rolls down. He goes,
Yeah,
I'll take
yeah.
smokes. It's such cool dialogue.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
where Stephen King really excelled, I think, with his dialogue. Really rich. And it just takes you out of it. Takes you out of yourself and you're
Yeah.
into this prison setting, this different class.
Yeah.
And immediately they sort of start with these disorienting camera angles as Andy walks in. And there was that one shot where he walks through the gates and it looks up. And that reminded me of the cathedral, the Gothic architecture. It draws your eyes up. And there's that whole undertone of religion in this as well.
Yeah, and yeah.
Well, actually, he's in the next scene, the warden, with his gold-rimmed glasses. It really accentuates his blue eyes, Mr. Norden. And... you know, your ass belongs to me.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. It's no blasphemy. It's his only rule, and he basically breaks his rule. Though it's not really blasphemy, but yeah.
And then there's the Hadley, and he's got the best lines, man. Maggot dick. And what's that white stuff that they spray on him? Delousing?
Delousing.
Is that for
yeah.
lice?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't really know what that stuff was.
I think louse is the plural of lice, or maybe
louse.
not.
I always thought
I don't
lice
know.
was... Yeah.
Delicing. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they had to have an O in there.
And Morgan here says, whole life blown away in the blink of an eye. Nothing left but all the time in the world to think about it.
Yeah. Naked as the day you were born.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's really interesting because they do try to introduce you to the whole prison life from when you come in and the psychology behind it, where you know they are betting on fresh fish, as they were saying, as they called it, where who's the person that's going to cry first when the reality kicks in and they realize that they're actually here for life.
Yeah.
You know, it's very interesting.
Oh man.
And they beat the guy, like the guy who does break. You know, it turns from a joke to something deadly serious when they just beat him, and you find out later that guy died.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's sort of... I keep going back to Hadley because he's got these lines, man. You fat barrel of monkey spunk. But man, when he beats him up, that noise, it's so brutal. It's so crunching, and he just leaves him on the floor and like
walks away.
You know, Haywood is the guy that was riling it up, and he turns, and that's where you sort of, that's your entry point, and goes, shut up, man. He's like deadly serious.
Yeah, it's gone from a joke to something that, you know, this is no longer a joke.
And he looks guilty at the end when, you know, he's getting the crap beaten out of him.
It.
And it sets it up as this really sort of adversary thing with Hadley.
Yeah, and the interesting thing as well is there are times throughout the film when it tries to almost draw you a bit closer to some of the bad guys as well. And then it reminds you later that these are bad. These people, it's not redemptive for them.
No. I also noted here the costumes, man. That was really great how they did it. Like, it's all grey and all this really bleak. Set design was just on par, and then the most colourful thing was the food, you know, when they get it.
Yeah, I actually thought, that food looks not too bad, actually.
But then he pulls out a maggot.
Then he pulls out the maggot. That's literally what I was starting to write down was food looks good, you know. It doesn't look like mush. It looks like you've got nice scrambled eggs there, and you've got some potato and maggot.
But then he gives it to... Brooks, is it?
Yeah, Brooks.
And Jake says thank you. Oh my gosh, it's so surprising. There's so much heart in this film. It just just unexpectedly.
And it comes out of unexpected places. They go from heartlessness to heart in very quick succession.
And it says, you know, when they found out he was beaten to death, he said, "What's his name?" And he goes, "It doesn't matter what his name was. he's dead, and like it's like
Yeah. And then they have the quick shower scene, the introduction of what was his name again? It was like Boggs.
Boggs, that's right. Oh my gosh. And he says, hard to get. I like that. And I was thinking during that, he says that I could be a friend to you.
Yeah.
Like, why are the gay guys so creepy, man? It's like, I want to see a camp Insecure gay inmate once.
But the guy...
It's like Insecure is like, oh, hey, like hair.
It's almost like it's supposed to suggest that if you're gay and you go to prison, you're actually on a good thing. but the guy, it's funny you should say that too, because one of the notes I made was Tim Robbins says to Red, Andy says to Red that did anyone tell him I'm not a homosexual? and he said, like, you got to be human first to be a homosexual. Like, they're not even like Boggs and stuff. It's not even that. They're just not even that. It's
absolutely yeah. And like I wrote down, like the way it was sort of set up, it's much like laying down mythology. Bull queers, they take by force. It's sort of like he's in this new world and there's this now random new enemy that they got to describe, and it's the law of this new world, the sisters. There's all this foreshadowing about something that's going to happen, so that was quite nice. But I always loved Tim Robbins. Speaking of homosexuality, I loved his fringe, man. It's so expressive, the way, like, his hair just hangs from his eyes and like it's all moody and emo, and I always wanted a fringe like that. So last month I got like keratin in my hair, so I finally got my emo fringe. But Tim Robbins had a definitely great hair in that film.
Yeah, that's right. He went. They did all the graying effects and all of that type of stuff over time.
Oh, yeah.
You know how he got the little greys on the side of the head?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. As time goes on.
And so, he gets, raped by the sisters for 2 years. And then finally...
Oh, I didn't catch that. It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2
wow,
years.
Shit.
And they get roof detail, and they play fiddle music. There's fiddles and when they get the news. And so suddenly they're outside and it's light and bright and colour, and it sort of brings you back. It's a change in the story, sort of light and dark.
Yeah. There's only so much darkness before it just becomes a depressing film.
Yeah. And where Hadley walks him to the edge. Man, that was a really great scene where it just drops. The camera goes right over the edge.
Yeah. And you see the people below.
Oh my gosh.
Moving around, looking up.
So epic.
Yeah.
And Andy has such a poor way with words, Do you trust your wife?
Yeah.
Would she try to hamstring you? What I mean is...
And he had plenty of time to think about what to say, too.
But there was some nice things there. Like, I think a man working outdoors feels more like a man when he can have a bottle of suds. And such a nice moment. They're all watching with their mouths open. It's like a real win moment.
Yeah.
And they're all on the roof in the next scene, drinking beer. Hadley magnanimous. I had to look what that was. It means generous.
He managed to look like... The one time he managed to look like he was actually doing something good.
Yeah.
When it was purely for selfish gain.
And it does make you appreciate life. You sort of do take these things for granted.
You do. And
And so he did it to feel normal again. And it sort of creates these questions when Red says things like, I'm the one guilty man in Shawshank. You wonder what he's done, and like it creates this mystery, and we never really find out what he was in for.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's the mystery. It's like that, creating that box, that J.J. Abrams box that you never open.
Well, and also they never really talk about the crimes of these people. Like they introduce them as almost blank slates for the audience to just tap into the way that they're feeling and how they're reacting to the situation they're in now. But you have no idea what any of their backgrounds are.
No.
They could be rapists, murderers. It could be, all kinds of things. But it's suggesting almost like in this context it doesn't really matter.
No.
It's very interesting because you wonder that if they had talked about their crimes, whether it would be as effective in terms of helping you to empathize with them. It wouldn't at all.
No. So it's extremely efficient with the information that the audience is given.
Yeah, and that's when he becomes the financial planner for everyone.
No, well, first of all, Boggs gets defeated.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
And Hadley gets him. It's such a cool moment, man. Satisfying when you see him screaming, "He helped me, no!" And you find out he never walks again. It's like, it's very satisfying when you see the enemies in this film dispatched.
Yeah.
They do that really well.
Yeah, they make them satisfying endings for the bad guys.
And that's when he actually meets the warden. They do a surprise inspection, and he's like, "Salvation lies within."
Yeah. That's it. And then that feeds back much later in the film.
And it's the poster of Rita Hayworth, and I was surprised the poster wasn't framed because it's in prison. Because he's innocent. It's framed.
No, you're right.
So this was Act 2 for me. Warden's favour. How do you know if a prison guard is gay? The smell of his mustache.
What? Where did you get that from?
I don't even know what it means. Do you know what I mean? I sort of do, but I don't really want to.
I don't know. I think that I would have to imagine several answers and not know whether I'd pick the right one. I don't. Yeah.
I thought you would like that one.
I don't know if I do or not.
But Jake is a big bird now, and it's so cool seeing him. Like this progression of time with Brooks. His face is so great, that actor. Just wrinkles with the whole smile. His whole features just soften.
Yeah.
But it keeps you on your toes, man, because Brooks, the most placid, benign character, caring for the bird, is holding Hayward at knife point.
Yeah, that's
He's
it.
crazy-eyed, and it makes you think, man, these men are dangerous, and you forget. You're on their side, but then there's this deep history that you don't know. And,
you don't know what they're capable of.
The crimes they've committed, the dark acts of weakness that we're all capable of. It makes you really think about that stuff. Gives you the space to as well, because you're just watching him as he's leaving prison. And
But also with that, he's this act of violence, but he doesn't. He doesn't follow through with it, and he finds it very difficult to go any further than he does in terms of grabbing the knife and holding him at knife point.
Absolutely.
But once again, as Tim Robbins coming in and humanizing everyone, he's saying, "Look at him, look at the blood on his neck, look what you've done," to sort of just make everyone, instead of it being a thing, it's the people who are actually involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the depressing Brooks scene where
it's
he
really
writes that
symbolic,
heartbreaking
though.
letter.
Well, when he lets the crow go as well, it's like, you know, it's just really touching stuff. Like, it's close up of the crow flying off into the...
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because when you think about it, one of the things that he's doing with that is he's being freed and he's freeing the crow. And you almost don't want to see the crow again, because the idea for Brooks is that, once he goes, there's just nothing more for him. Like, if Jake the crow were to come back, it'd be a return to the prison, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so, like, can't believe how fast things move on the outside. Dear fellas, that letter. And the music with the piano and the strings, much like American Beauty. So much sort of space there. But it really captures this lonely mood. His hands in the park, just letting the seed go, is just sort of drifting off. And I hope Jake is doing okay and making new friends.
Yeah.
And oh man, when you see Brooks was here, carved up there, it's like that really childish rebel contrasting to this old man.
Yeah.
His shoes and the dust falling on these. He had these new shoes because, he's just brand new. He's a brand new man, and that's his last thing. And they suddenly just suspended. It's really artfully done for 1994,
Yeah.
I wonder if this comes off as cliched now, because I'm pretty tainted, but not tainted, but embroiled in this film.
It's hard to say. Like I've looked up reviews and things for different films around this era, but all the people who review them generally seem to be around the same age as me.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know whether they're as tainted as we are. And also, I guess the thing is that back in 1994, that motion, where he's going to hang himself in, like if you were to do that now, you would have plenty of films from that point forward where that same type of thing has occurred. The kicking of the table over and the hanging and all that type of stuff. Yeah. So I don't know.
Did you get that vibe though when you rewatched it?
What, like it was cliched?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No. I didn't even think about it like that, to be honest.
Still really impactful for me.
Yeah. Well, it's I mean, you don't have the Brookses here on all the other cliched ones, but I don't know. It just seems that it was done it was the end of a story arc for someone. It wasn't just it wasn't a shock value type. It wasn't done for shock value. It was the progression of this person's story.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Andy gets the funding. He's been writing letters to the government one every week, and he gets $200. And from now on, I'll write 2 letters a week.
Yeah, it's great. It's actually funny because my father-in-law, actually one of the things he did to get an interview for his job was write constantly to them and send the thing.
Yeah, wow.
And when he turned up to the interview, they had a pile of letters that he had sent. All the letters. So it's like, that's not just a myth type thing. Wow. That's not just something that's written in a book. That's
beautiful, man. That's nice.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, and he got the job too.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
They had the letters. That's nice.
Yeah.
Whereas they were just paying him off.
Now please stop sending us letters.
But man, then they have the opera scene where he gets this money and he finds the record, and it's this Mozart opera. And it's just that, man, it's so powerful. The female soprano, when that cuts through, because you haven't really heard any female voices for this whole period.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Everyone just stops and stares, and the camera sort of, there's camera moving up, and the harmonies when they kick in at the end, like the 2 women. Oh gosh, it's so beautiful. And they're saying something so beautiful can't be expressed in words. And it makes your heart ache because of it.
Yeah, and once again, the narration of Morgan Freeman kicking in, and just it's interesting. You've got the voiceover on the voiceover, the music playing over the voice and the
yeah. And that's where he says hope is a dangerous idea. So that's that theme again.
Yeah, because hope is a big theme in this film.
And it's really punched in. Like you say, the next scene, it's like 30 years. He's up for his parole.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely rehabilitated. And there's so much sadness in his eyes because he doesn't,
Well, he doesn't...
There's no hope left.
Yeah. He doesn't expect to be he doesn't expect to be paroled. Yeah. He just says it to go through the motions, and... he's not really surprised or anything like that when he gets rejected.
Yeah, but there's that change, because it's being sparked by Andy's actions. So it's, but here we get Tommy, the injection.
Because they are all getting older. So, it's an injection also of that a person of a certain time is introduced as well. Because it's also a way of showing that time outside of the prison is moving on, and that those different backgrounds are coming in. Same thing with the posters. How it goes from Rita Hayworth to Marilyn Monroe and then to Raquel Welch.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. I like how easy it was. There was no unnecessary obstacles like in introducing a new character.
Well, I think the narration helps with that because it cuts. It allows you to get the person's feelings said straight to you. I think it might be hard to do it otherwise.
Yeah, and it felt like it was injecting a new character and growth for the existing characters, if that makes sense. To show another side of them through this new character.
Well, it turned Andy from sort of a character that was operating with people on his own level, and he's actually being a teacher and a mentor to someone, which you kind of never really think of him in that light until he's put into that position.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad storytelling doing that. Do you think so?
I don't know, not at all. No.
Yeah.
I think people say there's bad storytelling by adding certain plot elements. I think a lot of it also has to do with how it's done, not what is done, because there isn't really too much new under the sun when it comes to movies, and I think it's just the way that they inject those things into a movie and how they do it that really makes it cliched or not.
Yeah. And that's where because he's carrying the important piece of information as well about Elmo, the real killer. And you see him as well telling the story.
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, that laugh, that wheezy sort of laugh with the yellow teeth.
And he's not really, he doesn't seem like, at first he doesn't seem like the kind of person who does talk constantly.
No.
Until you start seeing the glee that comes out of him as he talks about it.
So freaky.
Mm.
And at that point, the warden realizes that Andy
could very
blow
well
it all
be,
open.
Yeah, and then Andy, in desperation says that he won't tell anyone, which is the worst thing you could possibly say.
Mm.
And
And a month in the hole.
Yeah, that's it.
So then there's that scene, that really creepy ass scene, man, where the warden and Tommy, and it's so silent. There's no music. And he stomps out the cigarette butt.
And you
his
can
shoe.
see there's a sheen of sweat on his brow.
Wow. But he had really nice burgundy brogues, I have to mention. But the gunshots were so loud.
Yeah.
And yeah, what did you think about that?
No, it was pretty harsh, because it once again, when they've introduced the character, made you empathize with them and see life from their side, and then you kill them again. I think a lot of that also leads up to the end of the film, in which it keeps raising the stakes for what could be happening to the characters that you hear from the beginning throughout the film, and you don't know whether it's going to actually be a tragedy or not.
Yeah, true. And I was just thinking the way he sets it up as well is quite nice, where he's saying, it's been keeping me up nights, and he doesn't really know that it's actually he wants to keep Andy there. Yeah, he doesn't want to free him at all. But also, I like the language when he finally meets Andy. Just he was saying things, "You're catching my drift." It was so evil. And just, he's well spoken, but then he just drops down into it. You're catching my drift.
Yeah, it's just am I not being overt enough for you?
Yeah.
Am I being obtuse?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But then that's really Act 3 for me, I guess.
And he's happy too. He really tries to break Andy in that moment, and you see that he's later on, when Andy does seem to be broken, because he's quieter now and more submissive in a lot of ways, and and that's what the warden really wants.
Yeah.
And he says to Andy, as he asks him to shine his shoes, that he goes, "So it's good to have you back."
Yeah.
It's just he has him exactly the way that he wants him.
Yeah. So that was Act 3. So how many prison guards does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. They just beat the room for being black.
Oh man, it's so we've managed to offend sexual preference and skin color.
It's a prison guard joke, really. But so Andy finally gets out, and
but it does it really well. The escape, you don't know what's going
to
happen.
No, out of the hole.
Oh yeah. Sorry, he gets out of the hole. Yeah, that's it.
And he was talking to Red, and he said, "I loved her. I just didn't know how to show it." Yeah, and that to me, because I was watching this film and I was thinking about Mum because I was pausing it. And, in sharing this movie, I was connecting with her in some ways. But, I also wish I was able to be more open about it. I think I've changed that now.
But I think sometimes in life, it's not just about it. I think we're just sharing those things is enough. We don't have to say everything that's be meaningful to people in our lives. Like I think it's a great thing to do, but just the actual enjoyment of doing those things together is something that I think it's sometimes those things you don't necessarily need to say them for it to be understood.
Yeah. Well, I very openly tell my brother and dad I love them now. Give them hugs. And family and friends are the most important thing in life. It's really the only thing. But back to the movie, when Tim Robbins smiles here, it's really unsettling. It's really unexpected because, he smiles at the fact, I can't even remember what it was, but it wasn't like a thing to smile at. He was, and he's just talking about the Mexico and how the Pacific has no memory, and he wants to buy a hotel and a worthless old boat, take my guests out charter fishing. And he's trying to enlist Red into that dream. I could use a man who knows how to get things. So they're trying to build up the hope.
Yeah, and Red's finding that very difficult. He's saying, I might be able to know how to get things on the inside, but outside I wouldn't be much good to you. And
the piano there is really complex. There's a violin and piano. It's sort of growing to full strings. The hotel, that boat, I don't think it's too much to ask. He's saying he's done his dues.
Yeah. And that comes back, and Red's view comes back to that, hope being a dangerous thing. And it really does bring you down to the lowest point, because everything that's happened up to this moment, there seemed to be, what's next? Is there something, is there a fight against it? And when you see him, he seems to be beaten down, and that everything's been taken from him at that point.
Oh, here I had my note now. It's when the warden was with Tommy, when he was saying, you were sort of really with Tim Robbins at that point for the whole month, and he's backed into a corner, and the warden is so menacing and so evil, so corrupted, and it is keeping him up, and he doesn't know what to do. And it's true, he's saying it honestly to Tommy. But it's a moment of closeness between them, but it's masked. The meaning is masked.
Yeah, because it's actually what he wants the guy to say is that he can't be certain that he could testify.
Yeah.
And the guy thinks that is the right thing for him to do, and it's the wrong thing
so he has to act, but not in the way Tommy thinks.
Yeah.
And so but later on, so back to where we were, with the conversation, there's buried treasure.
Yeah.
It's where I proposed to my wife. I made love to her, and she said yes. And I want you to go there. You made a joke about this before, when you were warming up as Morgan Freeman.
I was thinking of Andy under that tree. I was thinking to myself, and I wish that I was there instead of Andy's wife.
Non-sexually, of course.
In a non-sexual way, I would say to Andy, I love you, Andy. I want to be close to Andy, platonically. And,
can't believe there's treasure.
Yeah, pretty good.
But then there's the rope, and that's the red herring. You think the rope is for, the Brooks thing.
Yeah.
They're setting it up, but
absolutely. And him walking down the thing to his prison cell, and the tension's building for the characters.
Yeah,
you don't know what's going to happen, and of course they do. They're, oh my holy God, as he looks in, and you don't see what they see, which just is that they don't see anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, the Oxfords, the man has nice shoes.
Yeah.
I gotta say. But the sound design is so cool when the rock goes through the poster.
Yeah, and you hear it ting ting ting.
Oh my gosh. And you don't see it, but you absolutely hear it. And that rock hammer, man, they have that photo where...
That's great, isn't it? That's really great.
And the prison guard's got a bit of a smile holding it. He's almost proud.
Yeah. It really does seem like something out of a... it almost makes it feel like a true story, if that makes sense.
But it's like the narrated flashback. It's very like Murder, She Wrote. Mum used to love that show.
Without the fuzzing in and out.
And I used to rewatch Murder, She Wrote with her, but she never got back into it in 2008. She wasn't impressed anymore. She moved on. But so they go through the whole escape, and that's epic. There's the tension while he's waiting for the lightning to strike, and he's holding it. Such great acting. And the 500 yards, so epic when he's...
Oh, and he's crawling through all of that stuff, and he vomits as he goes along.
That's pure story, really. You can't
it is.
Convey that through just visuals. That's
like the actual, him vomiting is really showing you how bad it is, and the description of it.
The description. It's the 500
the
yards.
Vilest stuff I can't even imagine.
And, when the lightning, he rips up his shirt and embraces the rain. With the lightning and thunder.
Well, it is... There's a lot about birth and rebirth in this. Like when they first come into prison, naked as the day you were born.
Yeah, true.
And then at the end, he crawls through the tunnel and comes out the other side, and and he's all disgusting, and he tears it all off, and the cleansing rain and all of that, and he's like reborn again.
Oh, true. That's nice.
That's the whole redemption thing as well, kicking into overdrive.
And really, it's just wrapping things up rapidly here. So it's like, would you add this to your outgoing mail? And he's so smug. It's sort of satisfying how smug he is, because you're with him and
you're seeing his story now, because it's like giving you the payoff. So okay, you've gone through all of this, you've gone through all the tension. Now let's make you feel good about everything that went through and what had been happening, and even casting it all the way back to when you saw him writing his name. And then he gets to the end and it breaks the thing off and he has the idea.
Absolutely. And that apparently was the director, Frank Darabont's hands in those shots, in those close-up shots.
Right.
Because he thought no actor could convey what he wanted. So he used his hands. And he did a good job as a hand actor. But the warden, when he's loading that gun with the picture of the wife in the background, oh my gosh, so cool. Perfect lighting.
Yeah, that's right.
And when he... Sorry.
No, you go.
Yeah, when he shoots himself, you don't see it, but you see the body after. It's just impactful, if not more than seeing it. Yeah. The gunshot again, so loud.
You don't... I think that people go for shock value over sort of an impact. They think that shock and impact are the same thing. You look at The Dark Knight, right? Like... So a lot of violence gets implied in that movie, and that's more effective than any type of gore.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And actually, it's interesting because there's a lot of background shots of pictures in this which are almost conveying the mood. So when you see them arguing over where Andy is and how has he disappeared, in the background you've got a picture of Einstein with his tongue out. Poking fun at you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of little background moments. Same thing with the wife sitting in the background when he's got his things on the thing and he's gonna kill himself.
Oh my gosh, but there's so much depth there. Like I like the fact that you can see his wife, And it's all part of him, his religious,
Yeah, well, he's surrounded by all the things that he says that people should follow, and that's the moment when he does probably the thing as a Christian you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
So,
but it was a little bit of another red herring where you think he's going to go out blasting.
Yeah,
and he kills himself. But and you see Andy in a convertible next to the ocean. It's so damn nice, man. After being in this bleak film, he's driving with the wind in his luscious fringe. The place that you live in is that much more drab and empty that they're gone. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what Red said. And when
after now that he wasn't here, they told stories about Andy after that point,
right.
and it was good that he was gone, but at the same time, everything was more drab and empty. Yeah,
And there's warmth in these outdoor scenes. Like, that was the cinematographer.
that's true. Yeah,
on the roof, but also...
because they are constantly surrounded by grey in the film and the sort of blue-grey
Coolness.
type thing. Yeah, and
So 40 years rehabilitated. I don't give a shit.
that's such a good. That's such a good. I love that little dialogue there.
Such
you
a
know,
great monologue.
so,
Yeah,
stop wasting my time. You know, it's
then-
great.
approved.
Yeah, and
So
approved.
nice. Hey.
That's it. We've broken him. He managed to convince them, but for all the wrong reasons.
And when he finally gets out, it's not him walking out to us, it's us walking with him. I noticed we went through the gates with him.
Yeah, as much as we were introduced as well. Like when he went through the parole board right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've introduced it, because Red's really the narrator. So that makes sense to do that.
But it's a different view. We've never seen that side. And there's grass out there. It's freedom, man.
Yeah.
It's like so different. And I was so heartbreaking when you see Brooks was here up there as well.
Yeah,
again. And he's in the grocery store, and you don't need to ask me every time you want to take a piss.
Yeah, and he says, I can't do it unless I get permission. Yeah, it's so good at the way it's sort of showing also how, you know, you spend so much time in one life, one way of doing things, how, you know, it changes you, but, you know, it's not about rehabilitation.
Yeah.
But also, what did you think about just how much time occurs in the movie after he escapes? Because there is quite a lot that happens after he escapes. It's not just wrapped up quickly.
No.
Because you still have to go through the story of Red and how he gets out and what he does after then and finding the tree and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah, it was like a treasure hunt, man. It was like, couldn't get over that fact.
I love it how he looked around nervously as well. Like there's
Yeah.
literally no one around.
But that's like the con. That's sort of
That's
like...
it. Yeah, it is.
that really sort of, oh yeah.
I'm going to get in trouble for this.
Yeah, but also like... He if he was seeing someone with treasure, he would absolutely go up into them and take it, you know. It goes both ways. Like being that way, you can't ever feel safe. You can't ever feel like you're always.
Yeah.
So I like that side of it. Yeah, I did think that it was the treasure hunt thing was kind of I don't know. What did you think?
Well, no, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, you know, it was introduced by Tim Robbins. Sorry, I keep saying Tim Robbins. Andy. You know, at his lowest point when he's talking to Red, and he tells him about that, and you know, the night before he escapes, he tells them where to look and what to look for, and all of that stuff. So I don't know. I thought it was good, and you know, it was a good way of telling, because you never see them actually when he finally escapes. You don't actually see them talk together.
No,
like it's through letters, really.
Yeah.
So
It was nice to see the American farmlands. That was really pretty, like that rolling scenery. It was just such a nice
it was so
relief
rich.
on the eyes.
It was so relief on the eyes, unless you were there, in which case you had hay fever.
All the dust, man. Yeah, the pollen. But Buxton, I think the place was called Buxton.
Buxatoni.
But he's so excited he can barely hold a thought in my head. The excitement only a free man can feel.
Yep.
That was nice, you know.
Yeah. No, because he had hope now. He had something to look forward to. He was only a free man at that point.
Yeah, and then when you finally see the ocean, oh my gosh, it's like so blue. Yeah. It's just like blinding.
The blue of his dreams. Yeah.
And Alan Green apparently was the director's agent. So when he was struggling as a set dresser and wanted to be a writer, he was the one who believed in him and said, "Oh, okay, you can be a writer."
Yeah.
And he died of AIDS. So before this film was finished.
Oh wow! That was the Alan Green thing at the end? Yeah, dedicated to. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know what that was necessarily about.
So the screenplay actually ended on the bus.
Oh, is that right?
Where he said, "Hope, I hope." That was it. But then the studio, they said, you have final say, but shoot the ending.
Yeah.
And you can decide. But then the director said, yeah, the catharsis of seeing them reunited,
It was worth it.
worth it for the audience. He decided. But yeah, is that a glossy Hollywood ending? I don't know.
Maybe I like glossy Hollywood endings then.
I like the ending.
I sometimes just get so sick of people being intellectually obtuse. You know, it's like, we're not going to give you the ending, we're just going to let you hope as well.
Yeah.
You know, type thing. And it's, I don't know, I don't know. I feel like it's not necessarily truly resolved if
It's
they
such
don't.
a different film, isn't it? If you don't see them at
If
the
you don't
end.
see them at the end, no.
But it is still a good film. Like, if I hope
it's still a good film.
you're stuck with Morgan Freeman, and he's so excited. That was beautiful. The excitement of a
Yeah.
free man, you know.
But then you're thinking, well, I hope he did actually get to
But
see
you're imagining it. That's pretty powerful too.
Yeah, but then you'd imagine him not finding him there, and like it's like, oh fuck, he must have moved on.
And this is the human condition, man.
He got hit by. He drowned out at sea when he was taking his clientele fishing. We got to actually see him.
Oh.
Well, I hear there's an Andy here. No, sorry, he died a couple of days ago.
Oh, we just missed him. But I like the ocean ending.
Yeah, I do too. You don't have to have them talking. You just have to actually see the two of them see each
And it was
other.
just that big smile, man.
Mm.
That Morgan Freeman smile.
Yeah, that's
His
it.
pearly whites.
Pearly whites. Yeah, so man, nostalgia meter.
So this is, it's one of my favorite films. I really do love it. And in doing, like I say, the research, I just get drawn in, and hearing the opening music, I just want to watch it again. And like, even when you had it playing before,
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, this is, it's so good. And there's not many films I can say about that. Like, I just love watching this.
And it's funny too because I was saying it was the opposite. But I mean, the thing is that, you know, the way that you're talking about it, it's true. And I felt I did rush through watching this, and I would like to watch it again with a bit more time to actually enjoy it, because I'm, you know, sitting down taking notes and all that type of stuff.
It's a different experience.
So yeah, man, it's a nostalgia meter.
And final thoughts. It was really emotional watching this again. I watched it on Saturday night in Mum's house, and in the same chairs we used to watch our films in. So I always sat in this green recliner, and that's on Saturday. That's where I sat, and it even felt like I should get some food to watch the film with, because that's what Mum would do.
Because this is like, watching this film is at a time right now that's you know, a lot's been happening.
Yeah, and I was pausing the film, like you're saying, to take my notes. And during these times, just the silence of the house was really deafening, and her absence. And I could almost hear her say, like, "Don't pause it, darling, I'm watching." But it was just me making that up. So my last film was The Last Crusade, and I dedicated that to my dad. And before that was The Court Jester ages ago, which was for my brother. And this was going to be my dedication for her, but I didn't quite get there in time. So I love just how much she loved film. There's so much heart in this film. It's sort of overflowing. And her connection to this film really just showed how much heart she had. So she was so generous and giving and selfless with those in her life. And it's impossible not to absorb the messages of this film, which is just masterfully executed. The power of hope, you know, of music and projects and hobbies and education and giving, and not to take life for granted.
Yeah, well, what is it that they say? Get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah. And so finally, here's my dedication. I love you, Mum. I miss you so much. Thank you for everything. I love you. And thanks so much for watching this film with me, man.
Thank you.
It really means the world to me.
No,
And-
and I'm really glad that we're able to do this podcast one.
Yeah, and just the behind the scene work you go to is nothing short of heroic. Like the editing, the audio, the creation of the posters, and now the descriptions, and I really appreciate it, as well as our listeners do.
Oh, pleasure, man. No, I mean, this is something that we kind of do a lot for ourselves as well, isn't it? And that was part of the reason that we did it in the first place, was just to enjoy our love of film, but also, I mean, the whole point of the MOG was to talk about how these films have had an impact on our life. And
Yeah.
and the more we do it, the more stuff seems to come out of it. We we're exploring our lives through just these films, which really, it's not about the film, it's about our lives. And these are just sort of things that trigger memories in our lives and how meaningful the relationships we have in our life are.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate doing this with you.
Thanks, man.
It's been great. It's been great. So if or when we do more in the future, it's gonna continue to be great. Yeah, man.
The next film, it's one of yours. It's Tron from
Tron.
1982.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. We're gonna watch a whole movie about people in tights. So
I love Tron.
It's a good film. Well, I don't know how good it is still, but I'm sure it's got the Big Lebowski in it, so it's still good.
Oh, the new one?
No. What's his name? Jeff Bridges. It's got Jeff
Oh,
Bridges.
okay, the original. Okay,
Yeah.
Because the new one does too.
Oh,
I was thinking you meant the
Well,
reboot.
You've got
Tron Legacy.
Man, you've got Jeff Bridges. It's got to be a good film. So, all right. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah,
And,
thanks again, everyone, for
thanks to
listening
everyone
and
for
sticking with
listening.
us.
Yep. I'm just gonna hit stop now.
Just hit stop. Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Oh,
well, I didn't.
Oh,
I
well.
didn't think much.
Oh well,
Oh,
I didn't think
oh.
much of Peter and Derek. First time I laid eyes on him, I laid eyes on him. Looked like a stiff
well.
breeze with a blow.
Oh,
First
well,
time laid
I
eyes on
didn't
him,
think
walked
much
in
of
a-
Peter and
oh, like
Derek's
a
first
stiff as
time.
breeze.
First time I laid eyes on them.
They
Oh,
were
well,
gross
I didn't think
progression
much of
walk.
Peter and Derek. First time I laid eyes on them.
Repeated.
Looked like a stiff
Sloppy
breeze
roll
would have
all
blown them
around
over.
here.
They had a
Oh, how
walk
they were
and a
in
talk
places
that
all
just
over
wasn't
the
normal
place.
around here.
Like it was nobody's
They
facts.
were in for gross
They
misappropriation
had a cock in the
of
street
movie
and
facts
copyrighted.
and
We
blatant
disliked
and
them
repeated
immediately.
copyright infringement. Oh, how they put their damn faces all over movie posters like it was nobody's business. They had a cockiness to them. We disliked them immediately.